If you're in the market for a co-op strategy game, then I've got two really cool ones for you. Castle Panic and 5 Minute Dungeon. And I wanted to compare these two so you can make like a choice about what type of game that you'd like. Now, this is a more classic board game. It has a larger board and then all of these moving pieces. So here the premise is you have to defend your castle against like these monsters. Here it's also you have to attack these monsters, but it's more like a dungeon crawler, and there aren't any of these actual characters that move along the game board. So this is more of like a card game almost, and this more of like a board game. Now I also think that this is just a little bit easier. So it says 8+ on the box, and I think for this one that's actually really spot on. It's a little bit easier to do. So if you're more advanced board gamers, then I think this might be just a little bit too easy for you. Although you can make it harder if you want. There are some rules in there to make that harder as well. And also some expansion packs. So I think that could be cool as well. I'm going to explore getting those. So if you're playing with more advanced players, I'd say something like the 5 Minute Dungeon is a little bit more fun. This also takes a lot longer to play, about 45 minutes to fully play. And this, well, you can do this for 5 minutes, but that's just the name. You aren't going to play this for 5 minutes, but every dungeon takes 5 minutes. I'll get to that in a second. So here you have to defend yourself against a monster horde, and you have these different rings and then different persons to attack those. So you get these cards, every player gets these cards, and you have to work together to defend your castle. Now you have to throw a die and see where the monster will land. So every turn more monsters will appear until you've defeated them all. So this monster will get here in the forest in red, number 1. And why this is important is you have these different colors and then different segments. And each color can be attacked by a different hero, a different character that you have in your hand. So every person has some cards in their hands. If you play this with more people, you get fewer cards in your hands. If you play it with 2 people, you get more cards in your hands. And let's say this monster here is in the every turn the monster moves 1 space forward, and as soon as it gets to the castle it will destroy your wall, but then it will lose 1 life. But when it moves even further, if you haven't been able to defeat it yet, it will move inside the castle and destroy your tower, and then it will move clockwise to destroy all towers. And once you've lost all of your towers, you're done. So you have to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then this, let's say it's here, this troll has 3 lives, and then you have different characters that have more or fewer lives. Let's see, this one is an orc. I really like the artwork here, an orc with 2 lives, so this one is here. And let's say I have these cards. Now I have a red swordsman, so this can attack someone in the red zone, but only here on the last space, so I can't attack that troll with it. Now this is a blue archer, so this monster is in the archer range, but it's blue, so I can't attack this monster either. I can attack this monster with the blue archer. As soon as I do that, this will lose 1 point. Now there's 1 life left. If I attack it again, then it will lose all of its lives. So you have different people. This can hit the monster in any blue arc, this in a blue archer ring, and this is swordsman. And you can work together by trading these cards. You can only trade 1 card per turn, and then make sure you defeat these monsters together. So doing this with more advanced people, it was a little bit too easy to defeat all of the monsters, but with a few of these hacks you can make it a little bit harder. But if you're more into gaming and you've played more board games, more strategy board games, and want a little bit more challenge, then this 5 Minute Dungeon really is a challenge. It was quite difficult to get through all of the monsters here, I really have to say. Now this one is, you have a little card here, so you don't really have a game board. This is just a little card, and you have to defeat that monster by using these tokens, these arrows. But before you get there, you have to go through the dungeon to get to him, and you have to go through 20 cards to get to him. And these are like the different cards that you have to defeat him with. This is an obstacle before you can get to the boss. And then you have all of the mini bosses and persons and people and monsters. So some cards will allow you to defeat a person straight away. Some cards will allow you to defeat an obstacle straight away. And otherwise you'd have to have these type of cards with these symbols to defeat them. Now the fun thing here with the co-op is you do have to work together to do this, but because you only have 5 minutes, you don't really have time to work together. So it's fun. It's chaos everywhere. It's really fun to do. But each has its own type of hero that they choose with their own deck and their own specialties, their own special type of cards. So, for example, here's the Valkyrie that will start with a yellow deck of cards. This is the blue deck of cards. And the blue deck of cards will just a little bit more of these spell books, and here just a little bit more of these shields. So everyone has their specialty, and in order to defeat this, you have to work together. So this could be one sword. I could have one sword and then in my hand, and then the other hero that you're playing with could have like a few other cards. So like a specialty magic bomb counts as one of each resource, so they could play this as like the running man, and then another sword. So you can defeat this card with these three when you're working together. So you can do this with up to 5 people, and there's an expansion pack that you can even play this with 6. So that's also nice. And the more people you play this with, the fewer cards you get in your hand. It's a little bit easier if you play with more people than with just 2. So that's not entirely balanced, but still, even if you play this with 5 people, it's still quite hard to do this. And you have to find the right balance of like the way that you can interact with each other while still maintaining like that 5 minute that you have to defeat all these cards, because this is just the first one. Then it gets gradually harder. You have to have a lot more here to defeat him. This is just boss number 2, and then defeat 25 cards before you get to him. So that's it becomes increasingly difficult, and that it still is within 5 minutes. So here you have to have 30 cards before you get to it, 35. So it gradually gets more difficult. And essentially, if you die, then you die. So you have to start over at boss number 1. We did a full playthrough, but we did get defeated at one boss and then tried it again and then moved on just because we wanted to move on. So we haven't even really officially defeated all of the bosses yet. So I think it's just the right mix of chaos and fun here, but it is a little bit more difficult than like the Castle Panic, and a little bit more difficult to get the grasp of this. So a little bit easier, I think, for more beginners, and a really cool co-op game, and a little bit more difficult, but a lot more challenge here with this 5-minute dungeon.